Faking an orgasm. It sounds like a small thing, a way to keep the peace, spare a partner's feelings, and a moment that is taking too long. And in the moment, it might feel harmless, but over time, it can quietly reshape the entire dynamic of a relationship, because what starts as a little act of mercy can grow into a pattern of silence, resentment, and emotional distance. Is faking orgasm a harmless act or a damaging lie? You've probably heard it, maybe you've done it, maybe you've been on the receiving end of it without ever knowing. A sigh, a moan, a shiver that says, I am satisfied, but what if it wasn't real? What if the pleasure you thought you gave never actually happened? Faking an orgasm. It sounds like a small thing, a way to keep the peace, spare a partner's feelings, and a moment that is taking too long. And in the moment, it might feel harmless, but over time, it can quietly reshape the entire dynamic of a relationship, because what starts as a little act of mercy can grow into a pattern of silence, resentment, and emotional distance. Now, let's be honest. We don't talk about the pressure, the performance, and the fear of hurting someone's ego, the guilt of wanting more, but not knowing how to ask for it. And we definitely don't talk about the difference between physical release and emotional connection. So today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to explore why people fake orgasm, what it really communicates to your partner, and whether it's protecting your relationship or slowly undermining it from the inside. Because if honesty is the foundation of intimacy, what does it mean when we fake the most vulnerable part of it? Why people fake it? People fake orgasm for all kinds of reasons, and most of them have nothing to do with manipulation. It's often about fear. Fear of disappointing a partner, fear of confrontation, fear of being seen as too much or too complicated or too hard to please. So instead of speaking up, many people perform. They pretend, they nod and smile and moan their way through discomfort, but because they want to deceive, but because they want to keep the moment from unraveling. And sometimes it's not even about the partner, it's about the exhaustion, about the pressure to finish, about a mental load that is too heavy to let pleasure take over, about unresolved trauma, about shame or years of conditioning that taught them their role was to give, not to receive. So they fake it to feel normal, to avoid being awkward, to end moments that stopped feeling good a long time ago. Others do it because they're tired and failed to explain what they need. Maybe they've hinted, maybe they've begged, maybe they've had a conversation and nothing changed. So they learn to shortcut the moment, to play along, to reward effort with illusion, even if satisfaction never truly arrived. But here is the thing, when faking becomes routine, it stops being about kindness and starts becoming a quiet lie. Now, one that slowly separates physical connection from emotional truth. And if you're consistently pretending to be satisfied, the real question is no longer why you're faking, it's why you don't feel safe telling the truth. The emotional cost of pretending. At first, faking it might feel like a favor, a shortcut, a gentle way to protect someone you care about. Now, over time, it chips away at something deeper than desire. It erodes honesty. It becomes every time you fake an orgasm, you're not just pretending to enjoy the moment, you're denying your own needs. You are teaching your body to settle for less. You're telling your heart that speaking up might not be worth the risk. And it doesn't stop in the bedroom. The emotional consequences leak into how you see your partner, how you communicate, and how close you truly feel when you're faking pleasure. Now, you're also faking closeness. And no matter how good the performance, deep down, you know your body may be going through the motions, but your spirit has stopped and stepped out of the room. It creates distance, silent resentment, a quiet frustration that builds every time you're touched in the way that misses the mark. and you say nothing, not because you're weak, not because you're tired of trying. You just stop asking, you stop guiding, you stop hoping, and sex becomes something to endure, not enjoy, and that can leave you feeling incredibly alone, even when you're physically close to someone. Because few things are more painful than being touched by someone who thinks they know you when you have never actually shown them the truth. Now let's get to part 4. What it does to your partner. You might think that you're protecting your partner by faking it, sparking their ego, encouraging their effort, keeping their peace, and maybe, in the beginning, that is all it feels like, an act of love, but over time, the cost of that silence begins to show. Because when you fake pleasure, your partner believes they are meeting your needs when they are not. They believe that they are connecting with you when you are quietly checking out. And that forced feedback can be damaging, not just to them, but to the relationship. It creates a reality where they think that they are succeeding, but in truth, they are being kept in the dark. So even if they mean well, even when they care deeply, they have no idea there's a disconnect, because the performance said, keep doing what you're doing. And without honesty, they never get the opportunity to grow. But here is the real tragedy. Most partners want to know. They want to please you. They want to be good lovers, good listeners, good teammates in intimacy. And when you don't tell them the truth, you rob them of the chance to rise to that. You protect your feelings in the short term, but deny them the possibility of deeper connection in the long run, because the lie may feel harmless, but when love is real, it deserves the truth, even if it is awkward, even if it is messy, even if it means unlearning everything you thought you had figured out. Is it ever okay to fake it? Now let's be real, not every moment in the bedroom is going to be perfect. Sometimes we're tired, sometimes we're distracted, sometimes we just want the moment to pass without hurting anyone's feeling. And in those moments, faking it might feel like a harmless compromise, a way to move on, keeping the mood light and avoid an uncomfortable conversation. And maybe, in the very rare cases it is, maybe faking it once in a while, of showing grace, of choosing the relationship over the moment, or acknowledging effort, even when the outcome wasn't quite there. But the danger comes when it's not once, it's a habit, when it becomes the default, when it becomes easier to perform than to communicate, because that's when it stops being harmless and starts becoming emotionally dishonest. So is it ever okay to fake it? The answer, that's simple. The real question is, what are you faking it for? Is it to protect someone's ego or to avoid having to own your truth? Is it because your body wasn't present in the moment, or because the relationship hasn't made room for your pleasure at all? Intent matters, but patterns matters more, because one quiet compromise might feel like kindness, but a relationship built on pretense, especially in intimacy, slowly stops feeling like a relationship at all. Gender dynamics, or faking it. Faking orgasm isn't just personal, it's cultural. It's shaped by gender roles, power dynamics, and generations of messages about who's allowed to speak up and who is expected to stay silent. And while people of all genders may fake it, the overwhelming weight of this performance falls on women. Why? Because for centuries, female pleasures have been treated as secondary, mysterious, or worse, irrelevant. Women have been taught to please first, receive second, to be desired, but not demanding, to take pride in being low maintenance. And when it comes to sex, that conditioning shows up in subtle but powerful ways. Many women fake it, not because they want to, but because they've been taught that making a man feel successful matters more than feeling fulfilled themselves. Now, on the flip side, men are often told their masculinity is tied to performance, to how well they deliver, to how many orgasms their partner has, even if those orgasms are silent lies. So when women fake it, it upholds that illusion is to protect the male ego, while reinforcing the idea that being a good man means giving pleasure, even if no one's asking if that pleasure is real. Now, this dynamic is not about blame, it's about awareness, about unlearning the belief that faking is normal, harmless, or expected, because as long as we protect ego over intimacy, we create a culture where silence replaces growth and real connection is lost beneath the noise of performance. Now, what happens to the relationship over time? It's very important. When faking becomes a pattern, it doesn't just affect the bedroom, it reshapes the emotional landscape of the entire relationship. On the surface, everything may seem fine. You're intimate, you're connected, you're checking the boxes, but underneath the surface, something begins to erode. Trust, vulnerability, authenticity, and eventually your partner is loving a version of you that isn't even real. You might still hold hands, still laugh at the same shows, still make dinner together, but intimacy begins to feel scripted, safe, predictable, not because you don't care, but because you've stopped being fully honest. And in time, that unspoken gap grows. It becomes harder to speak up, harder to breach the distance, because the longer you fake, the more awkward the truth starts to feel. And for the partner who doesn't know, they might think everything is perfect until one day it's not, until the conversation finally happens, until the performance stops, and they are left wondering how long it's been going on, while they're never told. If you've ever felt stuck in a kind of silence, drop a comment below. You're not alone. This topic deserves honesty, not shame. Your story might be the one that helps someone else finally speak up, because over time, the cost of faking isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, and is relational. It creates a performance instead of a partnership, and a relationship built on performance eventually collapses under the weight of pretense. Now, how to start being honest without destroying the connection? Let's be real. Telling your partner you've been faking orgasm is one of the most vulnerable, uncomfortable, even terrifying conversations you can ever have, because it's not just about sex, it's about trust, it's about ego, it's about things that weren't said. And when you finally decide to tell the truth, the fear is real. While this ruins what we've built, they will feel betrayed. Will they take it personal? Will they shut down? But here is the key. Honesty doesn't have to feel like blame. It can sound like invitation, like, I want us to get even closer. I want us to feel more connected to you. Can we talk about how to make our intimacy more real for both of us? You are not confessing a crime. You're opening a door to a deeper level of trust, to a conversation of intimacy where your pleasure isn't hidden, it's honored. Start gently. Choose a time when you're not already tensed or disconnected. Speak from your heart, not your frustrations. Be clear about what you want, not just what you've been missing. And most importantly, give your partner space to feel, to respond, to ask questions. They may be hurt, shocked, or confused, but if they love the strong, they will listen and maybe for the first time really hear you, because the goal isn't just better sex, it's deeper safety, it's emotional honesty, it's learning how to grow together instead of pretending everything is fine. And that kind of honesty, it doesn't destroy connection, it rebuilds it. Redefining good sex, truth over technique. For too long, we have measured good sex by technique, by positions, durations, moans, and finish lines. But when you peel all that away, what is left? Real intimacy has less to do with performance and everything to do with presence. And when orgasm becomes the only measure of success, people begin to chase results instead of connection, often faking the former because they never had the courage to ask for the latter. Now, good sex isn't always loud. It isn't always flawless. Sometimes it's messy, awkward, filled with stops and starts. But when it's rooted in truth, when both people are honest about what they want or need and feel, it becomes something deeper. It becomes a conversation, not a routine. A partnership, not a transaction. A space where you don't have to pretend to be turned on, because you're emotionally safe enough to say what's missing. Now, this is the shift so many relationships need. Moving away from was it good towards did you feel close? Because connection isn't something that happens at the peak of the experience. It happens in a space where both people feel safe enough to stop performing and start revealing. So maybe the sex wasn't perfect. Maybe someone didn't finish. But if you both felt free, honest, and cared for, that's still intimacy. That is still success, because the most satisfying intimacy isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and completely honest. Now, healing after years of faking it. If you have been faking it for months or even years, the journey back to authenticity can feel overwhelming. Where do you begin? How do you rebuild something that's been quietly cracked for so long? And will your partner ever truly understand what you've been carrying in silence? The first step isn't a conversation with them. It is one with yourself. You have to forgive yourself for what you did to survive, for the moment you silenced your own needs to protect someone else's feelings, for the times you convinced yourself it was easier to pretend than to speak. You weren't weak, you were afraid. You were doing what you thought was best in that moment, but now you're ready for something more. Healing starts with truth. Slow, compassionate, non-judgmental truth that may mean gently opening up to your partner. Yes, but it also means reconnecting to your own body, learning what you actually like, what you actually want, what makes you feel grounded, present, alive, because you can't ask for something you haven't learned how to recognize in yourself. And if your partner is open to healing with you, beautiful. But even if they are not ready, your journey isn't lost, because healing isn't just about saving the relationship, it's about saving the part of you that gets used to silence. That good, comfortable in performance that forgot that real love includes your pleasure, your voice, and your full presence. It's never too late to come home to yourself, even if you've spent years living in pretense. Reflective questions and final thoughts on faking it. Now, faking an orgasm might seem like a small act in the moment. A pause you skip, a feeling you fake, a sigh you sail to protect someone's pride. But over time, those little walls build between your truth and your body, between your partner and your needs, between the performance and the person you truly are beneath. So now the question isn't just, is it faking harmless? It's what pretending cost you. Your connection, your peace, your ability to ask for more without guilt. Ask yourself, have you ever faked it out of fear, not choice? Do you truly believe your pleasure matters as much as your partner's? Are you in a relationship where you can talk about sex without shame? Are you protecting your partner's feelings or avoiding your own needs? And if you are honest, what kind of intimacy do you want to experience from this point forward? Because the kind of love that lasts, the kind that heals and evolves, is built on real moments, not perfect ones, not polished ones, but honest ones. The ones where you stop pretending and start being known. If this video hits home, leave a comment below. Have you ever faked it? Why and what helped you finally stop? Like this video if it gave you something deeper to think about. Share it with someone who deserves more than polite silence in your relationship. And follow us across all social platforms for weekly conversations that challenge, heal, and humanize love, because intimacy without honesty isn't intimacy at all. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.